Yeah, this is point blank, coming in hard and off the card. Now, this is something that we must take a look at because this is creepy Joe Biden's mess, calling himself undoing everything that Donald Trump had put into place when it comes to Afghanistan. But this goes deeper than Afghanistan. This goes back to the Vietnam War and many other wars, including, the war with Japan and China before years ago, and so on and so on. Many of these wars were trumped up, by the demon Democrats, putting our soldiers completely in harm's way, and not only in harm's way, but taking these valiant men and wasting such great men, lives over democratical bullshit. Now, meanwhile, they're sitting up in Congress, nice and safe, no no bombs dropping on them, no nothing. But they trump up a war because they were able to get in and keep in there for 47 years or even more than 47 years, going back to Richard Nixon and you're the president before Richard Nixon and so on and so on, and even before John F. Kennedy and so on. So completely continuing to trump up wars that really waste American lives really was all about their wallet. You know what I'm saying? Even when you look at the German war, the German war was really over uh, someone's wallet. You know what I mean? Let's be just honest here. You know what I'm saying? That war was completely over. You know, you know, it was a financial war really to put the money of Germany into the pockets of you know the Rockefellers and so on. You know what I mean? When they refused, you know who they were. You know what I'm saying? They sent Adolf Hitler, put him into place, and caused that war to go down. But in that war, something was destructive when it came to the people based on the ones that he persecuted the most, who probably had the banking system, but they also had many things that they were doing that they were not supposed to be doing over there. And, even a little boy was claimed to be sacrificed by them and so on. And so there was a lot of hate building in many ways, even when it came to the financial and the banking system. So it really was all about the banking system as well in itself. But when it comes to the gold star dad saying there can't be anything more disgusting than the creepy Joe Biden, well, he's just a product of the same thing I just mentioned. Even when it came to the Vietnam War, the Vietnam War was a complete waste of great valiant soldiers. You know what I'm saying? And then even when they didn't have any, and the soldiers were dying, and they weren't telling us the numbers of how many they were dying. I mean, they were dying faster than they could hit the floor. You know what I'm saying? And, to compensate, you know what I'm saying, they instituted a draft. You know what I'm saying? If you go back and look at Muhammad Ali situation when they tried to draft him into the war and Muhammad Ali refused and they took his boxing title from him and actually, I think, tried to put him in jail. You know what I'm saying? Just because he refused to go into their fake war, having them believe that they were fighting for something that was communist in Ho Chi Minh, you know what I'm saying, and so forth over there, and many different, and calling them gooks and all kinds of names like that, and bombing the people. They dropped more military bomb hardware on Vietnam than any other war, I believe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were bombing these people day and night and day, every chance they got. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about people who were living in the country. You know what I'm saying? They weren't really war-torn people, you know what I'm saying? But in more ways than one, it still shows that the French went in there, I don't know what took place, and the embargoes, whatever, and calling the people communists, you know what I'm saying, in North Vietnam. And then, you know what I'm saying, the Saudite called in the French because they were fighting each other. The South and the North was fighting each other in Vietnam, which really they're brothers. And then the French came in to assist the South, I think. And then, you know, that became a situation where the French was in there fighting a war in an area, or trumped up a war in that area. And, the different factions of deep state that caused it to happen and calling the people communists, which they were not, you know what I'm saying, used that communist as a way of going in to help out the South, beat off the North and push out communists according to the lie that they were telling. But the people in the North was not communists. You know what I'm saying? They were seeking for a more socialist way of life. You know what I'm saying? And the French went in there in the deep state garbage that they do as we see today, you know what I'm saying? And went in there and was warring with the North and these people, along with their own brother, you know what I'm saying, in Vietnam from the South. So the French went in and joined the South and was fighting the North, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of soldiers lost their lives. You know what I'm saying? And then when it was running out of soldiers, this is how fast the soldiers were dying. When they were running out of soldiers, they instituted a draft, which means that as soon as you get out of high school, you know what I'm saying, they throw a military uniform on you, and throw a gun in your hand, a rifle or whatever, and send you over to Vietnam. You know what I'm saying? Right out of high school, you had no choice, because if you refused, they actually ran you down, came looking for you at your house and ran you down. Many young dudes that had got out of school, or who were hanging in the streets, or whatever the case may be, had to keep running from them as if they committed a crime. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they used to have agents go to your house when you refuse to show up for the draft and arrest you and bring you and put you in a uniform and throw a rifle in your hand and ship you off to Vietnam. You know what I'm saying? Because it was not about anything else more than just one political, deep state, demon, democratical war. You know what I'm saying? Such as what we see going on today. The same factions of people are still in place doing the same garbage. You know what I'm saying? And this is what's caused this man here to speak up. And, you know what I'm saying, in more ways than one. And I'm sure many other people have. But this man here, I commend him and his son as valiant warriors and soldiers and patriots of the United States, you know what I'm saying, in all ways. Now, we need to listen to what this man have to say carefully. And at the same time, when he gets to the end of his speech, I want you to listen to what he's saying about the investigation that needs to be done. We need to get behind this man and push for that. You know what I'm saying? His Abbey Gate, Gold Star family. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, you know what I'm saying, let's listen to what he has to say.
Jay. My name is Mark Schmitz from Wentzville, Missouri. I'm the Gold Star father of Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, who was killed at the age of 20 at the Abbey Gate in Kabul, Afghanistan on August 26, 2021. I identify as a father, a husband, a pissed off, fed up American patriot, and now, thanks to this administration, a Gold Star dad, a title no one ever wants to have. From the age of 3, Jared has always dreamed of being a Marine. Once he made it into his sophomore year of high school, he was hard set on becoming a Marine, his next move after graduation. Little did he know, or I know, that would end up being his final major decision in his life. 2021 rolls around quickly. He says he's getting to come home to see us and his brothers and sisters because he's finally getting to go home on his first deployment to Jordan. I could see the excitement and nerves in his eyes, similar to when he left for boot camp. The unknown could always be a scary thing, but the thrill to see the world also drove the excitement. He felt like he was finally getting the chance to make a difference. He felt by becoming a Marine, he would make that difference a reality. To know Jared meant you knew he always looked out for the little guy. He was the type of young man who looked out for everyone, especially those not capable of looking out for themselves.
Patriot.
While in Jordan, he trained with his fellow Marines as they honed their skills to perfection. He earned the right to shoot and train with the designated marksman, so I again reminded him of the opportunity that he could be a sniper someday. He says, "Nah, Dad, too much math." Little did we know at that time that a sniper of all people would be the first and biggest asset that we would meet later on, named Tyler Vargas Andrews. Thank you again, sir, for being here. Jared reached out to me in mid-August and said they were sending him somewhere he couldn't talk about. I knew it had to be Afghanistan. We followed the news back home about what was going on and knew that it had to be the place. Ever since Biden decided to ignore all reliable intelligence from his top advisors and close Bagram Air Force Base, anyway, in July 1st, 2021, which directly and immediately led to the Taliban's taking back most of Afghanistan that our warriors previous had fought so hard to control. We knew somehow Jared and his Marine brothers would end up there having to help clean up this mess that never should have been created in the first place. After landing in Afghanistan, a few days went by before I heard from him. When he finally had a chance to call, he told me he was at the Abbey Gate. He said he thought he was going to die there those first couple of days due to the absolute chaos. He said, "Dad, the look on these people's faces was that of utter human desperation, and there's no way that we can save them all." He said he was exhausted and needed to get some rest before going back on the post. He told me they were shifting his post and he would be heading out on the airstrip. That never happened. The next day, the explosion happened. The next day, my son was gone forever. Fortunately, I was able to tell him I loved him one last time. Jared would have made a wonderful husband, a father. He wanted to go into law enforcement after the Marine Corps, but changed his mind after seeing how our police have been being treated the first year of Biden's administration. He had mentioned taking over the family business someday, and that couldn't have made me happier.
Soldier for real.
All these things have been stripped from us now, and none of them will happen. He will never have the sun shine on his face again. He will never have the chance to get married. He will never experience the joy of being a father, and he would have been one hell of a dad. We will never meet our grandkids. Our family name died that day.
Damn shame what Biden has done.
2 years has gone by, and where are we? To be frank, we're knee-deep in bullshit, is where we are. Everyone who held a key position in the military still has that position or has been promoted.
Imagine that.
John Kirby still sits on his perch, which apparently faces the opposite direction from where all the action was. Blinken continues to delay key evidence by ignoring delaying subpoenas. Not a single general slapped down their stars, which should have happened 2 years ago when Biden ignored his reliable intelligence.
That's right.
Not a single person has been held accountable. Our so-called leader can't seem to even utter their names in public, not even once.
Damn shame.
Mr. Biden has run his entire political campaign for 50 years as the family man. Well, I've got news for you, sir. The curtain has been lifting, and that campaign slogan will never work again. We have seen what's going on in your family, and even worse, we've seen how you've been treating us as Gold Star families. And there couldn't be anything more disgusting and cowardly than the way you have treated us. You are a disgrace to this nation. You have no business having ultimate command over our military, and I regret not saying that to your face when I had the opportunity in Dover. I felt it more important to bite my tongue, but I also had more important things on my mind at that time, like receiving my son's lifeless body stateside. While I stood there on the tarmac, watching you check your watch over and over again, all I wanted to do was shout out, "It's 2:30, asshole." But out of respect to the other grieving families, I bit my tongue once again.
Damn shame.
Well, as you could probably tell by now, I'm done biting my tongue.
That's right.
You, sir, stole their lives,
That's right.
their futures, their dreams,
That's right.
and have ripped apart 13 families. You cannot even man up and admit that.
Imagine that.
You, sir, gave us all the title Gold Star family. You, sir, discredit honor and integrity. 2 years later, there are things I find myself thinking about. Where and what was Biden's logic sneaking out of Bagram in the middle of the night before ever getting a single Afghan partner or American civilian out? This is the purest definition of intentional negligence.
Damn right.
This is just one of many irresponsible and negligent decisions coming from the White House.
Damn right.
In addition, leaving behind billions of dollars of our finest military hardware has led to the biggest international free market in history. Unfortunately, this will undoubtedly lead to more American military lives lost in the future. Between what has been happening here domestically, for example, the border, over the last 2.5 years, and all your failed foreign policy decisions, I would venture a guess that you have more American blood on your hands, Mr. Biden, than any president in U.S. history.
Imagine that.
While in Florida, I was approached by a CIA operative who connected me with several more operatives on a secure phone call. I was told if the Pentagon, DOD, and state tries to tell you that they had no idea Afghanistan would collapse so fast after a withdrawal, they are completely and utterly full of shit.
That's right.
They kept telling me to follow Bagram, so I did, and so I have. Closing Bagram was the sole responsibility of Joe Biden. It was also the lead domino which led to the demise of all of Afghanistan. Its women, its children, 170 Afghans, 13 American servicemen, and for what? Intelligence given to Joe demonstrated Bagram, hands down, was the most effective and secure place to undertake a mass evacuation. But you chose to ignore all of that. Instead, you chose HKIA, a public airport surrounded by a chain link fence in an urban environment without even a usable air traffic control tower.
Wow.
One thing I do know, though, Mr. President, China certainly is enjoying our fortress, known as Bagram now.
Yes, they are.
I'm often asked what accountability looks like. Simply put, what is most important to me is that the history books are written accurately and honestly and truthfully about what happened to our fallen 13, the fall of Kabul, and for the truth to be told about those who failed to perform their duties should be identified and should be held appropriately accountable. Lastly, I have prepared a short list of answers I will not stop fighting for as a bare minimum for the unnecessary and avoidable sacrificial offering of our 13 brave children on August 26, 2021. I'm requesting that Chairman McCall of the Foreign Affairs Committee subpoena the Inspectors General Office to review the complaints that were filed prior to the bombing of Abbey Gate and why those complaints went disregarded and who failed to follow up on them.
That's right.
I'm requesting an investigation of President Joe Biden, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken as it pertains to Article 3, Sections 2 and 3 of the United States Constitution for their involvement in intentionally leaving Bagram and all of its assets by knowingly aiding known terrorists, all while abandoning U.S. civilians and allied partners. I'm requesting Chairman McCall to subpoena whoever has the stills and video footage from the Abbey Gate surveillance cameras, the sniper tower rifle scope SD cards, any drones that were flying that day.
That's right.
As well as all SD cards seized from cameras worn by our military on the ground that day at Abbey Gate, and any other surveillance equipment used, not already mentioned, so that the committee can see for themselves exactly what happened over there.
That's right.
And finally, answers to the questions from Tyler's entire testimony. Why did NCIS or FBI never interview him? He was easy to find at Walter Reed. How could you send Pentagon officials to Gold Star family living rooms to present your conclusive investigative reports? How could a thorough investigation possibly even exist when key witnesses to the events were never even interviewed, including not a single Afghan or the sniper who could have ended it all before it even started?
Wow.
How could it just be acceptable that our snipers cannot get an immediate and straight answer from their commanding officer at such a crucial moment? This bombing did not come out of thin air. We had intel. The bomber was in the area. Lieutenant Colonel Whitehead and generals on the ground were aware of this and did absolutely nothing to prepare our sniper teams, which relied on their leadership. In closing, Mr. Biden and Secretary Austin, Secretary Blinken, if trusting and supporting our military is too difficult for you, then I suggest you pack your shit and enjoy your retirement, because from where I sit on my perch, the noose around your double down notion that this was an extraordinary success looks like it's tightening a little bit more each and every day. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, Christy. I know Nicole will be so proud. Next, we have the family of Taylor Hoover, Darren Hoover, and Kelly Barnett.
First of all, I'd like to thank Chairman McCall, Ranking Member Dean for being here, and all the rest of this committee. We want answers, we need answers, and we expect those answers. I'm calling on you, please, please, don't let this fall through the cracks. You haven't thus far and have made us proud. Please continue it.
That's right.
I'm not going to talk a lot, but I am going to breathe a little bit of fire.
That's right.
I want to know why this current administration isn't able to take responsibility for their actions in the days, the weeks, and the months leading up to this fateful day.
They're not going to take responsibility because they're in bed with China. They're in bed with all our enemies and China and all of that, and these Arabs and these Chinese and all these other people that they mentioned, Kurdistan, Romania, you know what I'm saying, oligarchs from Russia under Putin's nose doing garbage, you know what I'm saying, and so on, to where they have even, you know what I'm saying, even China is mentioned in the whole thing that Biden has been in bed with for many years, making deals on phones, you know, and every time he made a deal with one of our foreign enemies, he destroyed one of our rules or regulations or constitution. You know what I'm saying? Same thing Bush was doing, amending into the constitution. He would write down below, you know what I'm saying, this law is this law, but then he would write down, well, there's an exception that I could get away with this, you know, and all types of shit they do because they're in bed, you know what I'm saying? And these demon Democrats are supporting and still fighting the war from the Civil War, you know what I'm saying, because they're lost. They got beat up on and all this and that. And they have been conspiring inside our government, using the demon democratical psychologically to even overthrow the minds of black people away from the Republican Party in which their family died for and their ancestors died for, in order to give you the freedom and the choices that you can have to run and say the things we say today. Not saying that they had a right or would have stopped us, we would have break through. But to actually abandon the Republican Party completely, you know what I'm saying, even after the infiltration and they took it over, this is a new time and a new place. It's time for us to take back what belongs to us and drive the infiltrators out. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, let's get back to what this man is saying.
Not a single thing was set in stone since the withdrawal date had been pushed back.
Oh, and one other thing is the same thing. It says when they lost the Civil War, and I mentioned this before in my other video, they're now using all our enemies in order to win that war, because on their own they can't. You know what I'm saying? Because people begin to see the bullshit and the shit they have done over years and years in our country to black people, to many different races of people, many different wars, and many different races of people across the planet as a whole. COVID-19 is just another one of that war weapons that they're using on the American people, while because they want to win they still want to win that civil war, and they want to take America and just bring it to its knees and destroy it, and think that when all is done and said, that they're going to be on top. But what the key is that, you know, sometimes people use their enemies in order to win the war, and that's what Biden and the demon Democrats, including Bush, Obama, Michelle, and all Bush Senior, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you know what I'm saying? All of these demon Democrats that's involved, you know what I'm saying? And I'm ashamed of Letitia James. You know what I'm saying? Even going into Trump's financial records on his personal business. What kind of shit is that, Letitia James, that you are doing? You know what I'm saying? Why would you go into what the fuck Trump's personal business, you know what I'm saying, has to do whether he falsified records or not on his own personal business, you know what I'm saying, of real estate or whatever. That has nothing to do with the presidency, so why were you investigating something like that when that should have been done privately to itself, not broadcast in front of the American people, this man's personal business? You garbage, Letitia James, and you know it. You need to get the fuck out. Next time, don't vote Letitia James back into office. Put a Republican or somebody else in there. She's got to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. But Letitia James has got to go. And I'm saying it. Letitia James, you are got to go. Anybody vote for you again is completely out of their fucking mind. Because there is no way that you should have followed down the road as a black woman. Many of you black people who was in lawmakers and shit in the Democratic Party, and even you civil rights and rappers and all these motherfuckers on the Democratic side, your bitches got to go. And that goes for rappers and actors. If they're not acting right, people do not buy their music, do not follow their music, and do not support them. Cut them off. Because if they have enough power to get on stage and tell us to suck a cock, tweak a ass, take drugs, and kill each other as black people, we don't need to follow them anymore. We must cut them off until they come correct and start to use that music and that voice for something other than signing a bullshit Luciferian Baphomet contract or Freemason or anything to do with that, with the deep state. And then projecting in China, especially because, like I said, the demon Democrats are going to use, years ago, people used to do that. Like, say, for instance, you have a common enemy. Like, say, for instance, say, for instance, point black military or point black country or point black in a country that had a civil war that now, been beaten, and I'm still here, but I'm in government and they allow me to come in and so on. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes in the old ways, you know what I'm saying, you would take another group who has the same animosity that I have in this country and want to beat America because America did shit to them as well. So we join up together in order to defeat America. You see what I'm saying? But what the demon Democrats are doing is doing it from inside our government because they lost the war in the Civil War and got their ass whooped up. You know what I'm saying? And they always wanted to win that war. That's why they created the Ku Klux Klan to begin with. You see what I'm saying? So let's get back to this guy.
If this timetable had been pushed back a couple of months, why was the evacuation time so truncated and on a specific timeline? On or about August 18th, 2021, General Milley stated this: "There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of the Afghan army or this government in 11 days. How is that not possible?" Secretary Austin stated, "We'll evacuate all Americans that we can, at least until the clock runs out or our capabilities are overextended." What in the world does that mean? What does that mean? Before the clock runs out? Were there not contingency plans upon contingency plans upon contingency plans executed, made ready in case one plan fell through and another one had to be taken into place? As Chairman McCall said, failure to plan is planning to fail. I've talked a couple of times with some special operators from in theater that were there at the time and leading up to that fateful day. They tell the story a little bit differently. There was a plan set in place before the previous administration had left. It was not planned by suits. It was planned by boots. And they were training for it, and training for it. They had it down. They had the contingency plans set in place. This administration walks in and blows it to kingdom come. Ignorance? To me, it is. Complete ignorance. 11 days. That's how long it took for Kabul to fall. The country, the government. Bagram Air Base was abandoned under orders of this administration on July 1st. Several weeks prior to the date our kids were taken from us. Not in 11 days, in several weeks leading up to that. Then he gave up Kabul, our citizens, and our allies, to include the interpreters that were there with our men and women in uniform. To me, I asked the question, did the right hand know what the left hand was doing? Sure doesn't seem that way. Was it State Department running the show? Was it the Department of Defense? Or was it the suits in the administration? Was General Miller not doing the bidding of the DOD, the State Department, or administration, and was replaced by General Donahue on the ground? Again, why are the boots not being listened to? They were living in...
Well, the reason why they're not listening to was because, like I said, they're in bed with all our foreign enemies. You know what I'm saying? That's why no response. Everything was done. When it came to Afghanistan, he was supposed to do that. That was something that Biden wanted to do, to destroy all that Trump had put into place. He completely went in there and tried to call himself pulling out there, because I have a strong feeling that the Taliban might even be working for the Biden administration as well.
breathing the chaos and hell that was on the ground every single day. Why did we, the United States military, ask the Taliban to take out that cell in a hotel down the street? That's not their responsibility. They were our enemy. ISIS-K was our enemy. We spent 20 years fighting. Why was it denied a drone strike, a precision drone strike, to take those individuals out? We bombed a family. We drone striked a family afterwards, took out just that family. You're telling me that we couldn't have precision dropped on those ISIS-K members?
You see what I'm saying?
This was all actionable intel that we sat on.
The reason why they didn't bomb ISIS, because ISIS is working for them. What ISIS is even up in the sea. If you go back and you look at I don't know, maybe they took some of Pharaoh's videos down, but one thing he showed that I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, and it was a surprise to me, is that there is a temple of the Freemasons in America called ISIS, the same temple. Now, what would the Freemason Caucasians be doing with a European Freemason, not the African Freemason, the European Freemasonry with Luciferian Baphomet, in which they worship, you know what I'm saying, be doing, you know what I'm saying, doing something like that? How long was the ISIS temple of the Freemason have been there? And are those people like Jihadi John and them was actually working for these things, because they have the same temple. They have a temple right here in the United States, you know what I'm saying, that's Freemason, called ISIS. You know what I'm saying? So this connection shows a very lot, and what this gentleman is saying here makes the connection to that dot.
Nothing was done. Why? Why? How is that going to change in the future? Was it done on purpose? I don't know. I want that answered too. Intel had been tracking the individual, the bomber, what he looked like, what he was wearing, down to the computer bag, the black computer bag, laptop bag, with white writing on it. Does that not stand out? And we can't do anything about it?
Damn shame.
Our snipers can't do anything about it when they see him? Are we more worried about pissing off the Taliban? Why is that a bad thing? Then we move to 2 weeks ago. We have Biden shouting in a press conference, name me one single objective that we set out to accomplish that we failed on. Name me one. In all of our history, not one.
Now, Biden need to keep his motherfucking, I'm going to curse on this. He needs to keep his motherfucking mouth shut. Because everything he utter out of his mouth, you know what I'm saying, exposes him anyway. Meanwhile, in essence, Biden had been exposed. We had been telling people, even going back to 2019, 2018, I was telling people about Obama and creepy ass Joe Biden. I was even telling them who Joe Biden is working for, who is he doing, and what do y'all people do? 91% black people do what? Help the vote creep Joe Biden back into office. Or not into office, but help creep Joe Biden to get elected into our office as chief in the command, as commander-in-chief. You know what I'm saying? The commander-in-chief. Why would you black people do that? Now you are sitting up there complaining, talking shit, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Which doesn't make any sense. You know? It's a damn shame to see this.
I say to you, Mr. President, you got 13 pictures that we have all named. You got 13 that you did not accomplish.
Damn shame.
I know he can't name one of them without a card sitting in front of him or a teleprompter sitting in front of him.
That's right.
I say to him, resign. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Secretary Blinken, Secretary Lloyd, General Milley, you need to resign. We haven't gotten every piece of information. It's being withheld.
Again, niggas again on some dumb shit, costing the lives of these American soldiers to die. Lloyd Austin, a black general, been there for how many years? So what was he doing? Pedophilia and LGBTQ all this time? You know what I'm saying? Because we know of a lot of rape and a lot of abuse that's going on in the military with the women. And Lloyd Austin was there. And have always been there. He'd been there for years. You know what I'm saying? And what is this black man doing? Same thing we have with Al Sharpton trying to justify anything he can to discredit Donald J. Trump. Why in the world is an activist, or whatever you want to call it, a reverend, which still to me is Luciferian and mathematical, you know what I'm saying? Why is he representing anything to do with the black community and trying to discredit Trump? This is not about racism. And Al Sharpton is way out of place with this one. This has to do with our country and the enemy that we have. If the Ku Klux Klan and the Demon Democrats and them, which is the Ku Klux Klan, you know what I'm saying? Forced Nathan Bradford 18 65 and all that shit that they created after during in the 60s when the civil, if they can team up with Kurdistan, Romania, Russian, Ukraine, and China to defeat the United States, because they have already dug into our country. They are here in our country right now, corrupting and manipulating. And this is Biden is the open door key for them, because he's been taking their money all these years. That goes for the cartels in South America as well. You see what I'm saying? That's why he opened the border and flushed them in here. Now he's asking them to do what? Vote. Vote for the Democrats. Now he wants the migrants to vote for the Democrats, because he done flushed in 4.9 million of them, and I guess they're gonna outvote us and keep the Democrats in power to save their ass. If I was asylum seekers, I would be telling creepy Joe Biden to his face, we ain't voting for your dumb ass. Anyway, we here now. We gonna vote for who gonna help us. You know what I'm saying, in more ways than one, because Trump understands the migrant problem, and Trump will do what he can to make sure that the migrant problem is this. It's not just about deporting these people back, but there has to be some kind of control on both sides of the bridge, and that's a fact.
Now I move to Lieutenant Colonel Whited. You can't possibly think that you have any respect from those that you command any longer with the actions that you failed to take or that you did take. Captain Ball, now Major Ball, is a disgrace to the uniform, staying in his hotel while his guys were out on the line. Then when he did show up,
wow,
chaos ensued even more. He moved his Marines to a compacted area in front of the gate. They should have been spread out instead of clustered together.
Wow.
That's when Echo Company came out to relieve Gulf or Ghost Company. They had to fight to regain some semblance of order.
Wow.
After doing this for several days, the Afghans started to notice that when the black shirts came out, they had to behave. But when the green shirts came out, the Afghans created the chaos again and crowded the gate.
Wow.
In closing, I want General Milley's stars. I want Colonel Whitehead's birds. I want Major Ball's oak clusters in my hand.
That's right.
Now.
That's right.
You can no longer lead. None of you have the respect of your men and women anymore. Do what is right. It's past time. Today is the date 2 years ago that we received our kids home at Dover. 2 years ago today.
Dover, Delaware.
Where we were disrespected with stories of Biden's son and him looking at his watch. And today, here we sit as their families, begging you, 2 years later, find these answers. Our veterans deserve it. The 22 a day cannot continue to happen because of these failures. Thank you.
Thank you.